Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining this Flex Talks, which is in our series of medical manufacturing and supply chain. So today, Christoph Schaller, who's our Senior Director of Operations for EMEA at Flex Health Solutions, is going to talk about the trade-offs between regional and global manufacturing and supply chain. He's going to talk for about 20 minutes, and then we're happy to answer your questions that you may have. So just use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Thanks so much, and Christoph, we're all ready.
Thank you much. Thank you very much for the introduction, Betty. I would like to start with some thoughts about changing and what has changed. Now, looking into today's web talks, webinars, when I'm looking back, I was doing keynotes or panel discussion, normally in front of people, face to face, and nowadays we do it in a digital way. So things are changing, and also this actual situation is changing also our thoughts in how to set up a footprint supporting future growth. And I'm happy by today to guide you through our thoughts in terms of global manufacturing and regional manufacturing. So I will guide you through in that way that I will give you some thoughts about the past and the current situation, where we are, also some actual developments and future aspects you need to take in consideration, which is driving the change. With that, also guide you through the setup of a new footprint, really based on your market needs. So really thinking about strategy and your tactic, how you're doing that. And beginning that, I would like to give you a brief definition of region and global, because when I did my talks and within my network, so by the way, it's not just my thoughts and my ideas of how you do that. It's a combination out of my network. But at the early first beginning, I recognized that the definition of regional and global are maybe a little bit different. So I'm from Austria, so my region is Austria, but I'm also embedded into Europe, which is as well a region. So when we talk about the region, then we talk about North America, Asia, Europe. When we're talking about global, then we're really talking about worldwide and international. As well, please keep in mind that there can be single site location approaches and multi-location approaches with so multi-site approaches within the region or different regions, and single site approach for distributing globally. Keep that in mind when we walk through the slides. So what is the past or a little bit current situation of the traditional focus in the medtech market? From manufacturing supply chain point of view, we were concentrating on single locations, manufacturing from one location and distributing the products all around the world. The supply chain was really based on cost optimization, so the focus are clear in low-cost regions for the supply chain manufacturing, but as well for the manufacturing of the products. As well in the past, the greater view was on the product function, not really on the solution. So but nowadays we're talking about solutions. To give you here a good example is if you're taking an insulin pen, and with an insulin pen, you can apply insulin. But think about solutions behind that, which can enabled by connectivity, which is enabling more service with data all around that, and how you utilize this data for your patient, for your customers. So things has changed, and to give you a little bit more insights into the change and what is driving the change into the market. First of all, looking into development of the market, the medical growth year over year is really a great growth. You can do it by your own. You can check in the websites on different numbers of growth, to be laying in the middle, talking about approximately 5% year-over-year growth, which is really, really a great growth in the market. What is driving this growth and this development? One aspect is the aging population. And with that aging population, the burden on chronic disease is rising. And you know, the access to healthcare globally has tremendously changed. So there is an increase to get access, to get the patients and the customers get used to that product, get familiar with this product, and the access is one of the important things on the market development. With the market development, solution providers, manufacturers, and OEMs are looking for more flexibility. In terms of flexibility, one aspect for sure is cost-driven. And one aspect here is if you're reducing delivery time, this improves your manufacturing supply chain costs very, very good. This is a lean principle which you can take the math on, and you see how this will support your cost down. Furthermore, in terms of flexibility, with the support of service provider, you have the possibility to really focus on core competencies, and a service provider, we're really looking for supporting you in logistics, supporting you in supply chain, defining the footprint with you, bringing the great manufacturing capabilities for your products. And you can really concentrate on solutions. As an example, I brought up the insulin ban with really looking into further solutions into the MET products for the patients. And in terms of flexibility, service providers are now mature enough, or got mature enough, to be in the position to get really integrated into operations and ecosystems. So with that, I would like to think or rethink with you how to incorporate best cost location into your operational footprints. So first of all, you need to understand that a best location is a location really close to the customers, to your customer. But you need to consider as well that you have customers from today, but you need to understand as well where your future growth most likely will be, and based on that, you need to define your footprint as well more carefully. You need to think about meeting the regulatory requirements, which is the basement of making medical products. Think about country of origin. Think about Brazil content, for example, or China for China manufacturing, which is also something you need to consider by choose the best cost location. For sure, optimizing your network is an important aspect. And by the cost-driven aspect, I would emphasize you to really take a brighter view on the cost, take a holistic view, take some ideas of the total cost of ownership, and define the best cost location for your footprint. To support you with the holistic cost view, I have some examples here. Looking into piece price, you know, the piece price mainly considers out of labor and of material. If you're looking into the labor price, you know, we see that labor price was increasing much more faster in low-cost region than in high-cost region. And as well, the high-cost regions are getting much more competitive with automation and with data-driven manufacturing. For sure, take in consideration inventory. Think about your safety stock. This is also important when you think about your setup for supply chain and logistics. As I said, the fundamental or the basement is regulatory compliance, product quality. This needs to be taken in consideration when you think about the holistic cost view. Today and also in the future, environmental responsibility is a big driver for change. The future sustainability is clear and focused. Beside all aspects like recycling, where you have, which you need to take in consideration for footprint, or comes along with recycling is as well a logistic path you need also to consider in your cost view. Security and the risk management around that for intellectual property, also political risk management, this needs to take in consideration. We were confronted in the past as well with tsunamis, flooding, trade wars. This has changed our view. Looking into the global events like the pandemic where we recently in are, there are changes. We are in the situation to think about doing things really within the country, to have access to medical products, and this is driving as well a completely change in this situation. It has also influence in your cost view as well. Taking all these inputs, you need to define your strategy. You need to align your business objectives, and when you are in this process, you're going for optimizing your existing footprint first, and then really think about how you can enlarge it. And when you enlarge it, think about the key location drivers. We touch base on new market opportunities, so really where is the growth most likely coming from? Really how close you are to the customers, but as well to the customers, a network is also important. If you have existing network, it's also important for you to be close to them, to use the same time zone, to use the same methodology of manufacturing. If you are familiar already with them, this is also giving you a big advantage when you choose your key location drivers. For sure, technology and digitalization is an enabler or an advantage. And here, to make that on a long-term perspective happen, you need to have talents available to support you for technology, either in product and as well in the manufacturing area. To have the right talents, you need to educate them on a long-term perspective. And this is why you need as well a good education infrastructure to support their long-term learning aspects. As I said, risk management, business disruption risks you need to take in consideration by choosing the right location for your footprint, and the fundamental base, quality and regulatory. With that, I would like to give you some pros and cons when you think about multiple locations within different regions and a single location manufacturing and distributing globally. But I think one of the pros for a multiple location setup for sure is the standardization. You have the possibility to really make your industrialization centralized and then really distribute or place in different locations with the same standard your manufacturing process. But the benefit behind that is as well, if you have different locations, they will come with best practices, and you can combine the best practices really in a high efficient way and effective way for all the manufacturing process in the different site locations. For sure, you have standardization as well for single site approaches, but the leverage of multiple location and best practice sharing for the same manufacturing process is a huge advantage. For sure, Econ is a location-based cost parameter, but this we can balance out with the level of automation, the level of manufacturing efficiency processes, and so on. A multiple site approach is as well supporting you in upscaling and downscaling. And here, I think the importance is that you need to consider the right volume for that. If you are on a lower level of volumes, then a single location fits better for that approach than a multi-location approach. On the other side, if you're taking a risk mitigation, if you have a multi-site approach, then if you have a situation where you need to stop in one location, you can simply upscale the another location by increasing the volume. And on the other side, if you're a single location approach, then you might need to transfer your manufacturing to another location. It just takes a little bit longer by just upscaling the volumes in already set up location, like in the multi-location setup. On the freights, I would say it's pros and cons. The freights are if you're also bringing your supply chain and make it more localized, then for sure you can reduce your freight costs. But there are some commodities which are single region located, and for that we need to consider as well the freight costs as we have it by today. Coming to my summary or to my conclusion, the most important thing is really to think about your footprint really in a strategic way. Consider all aspects what we walked through, like what volumes are behind, what's the product size, what's the complexity of the product. What I mean with product size, if you have really large medical equipment, then it makes no sense to send it from one location to another. So really think about that as well. Think about the holistic cost view I brought in with all aspects from logistics, from environmental costs, as well automation. Take this in consideration, which is also giving you complete different cost position. When we're talking about supply chain, think about flexible hybrid supply chain. Why I'm bringing the hybrid portion into that, I will come to that a little bit via my explanation. Think about resiliency in the supply chain. So when you think to establish the supply chain, really think about steps when you go from single sourcing to second sourcing to multiple sourcing, depending really on the volume and your product needs. Why I'm bringing that topic in is I experienced in the past with some startups that they are at the early beginning really looking for really local supply chains, small suppliers supporting them at that point of time really with their needs, because here it's important to have a close by possibility by really going there, traveling there really in short time, and this is supporting them at that point of time. But when you are going then for upscaling and thinking about different location to manufacture, you need to consider as well the supply chain. But please, this needs going hand in hand to really bring in second source, which can support really a growth. The suppliers needs to have the financial strength to support you with the future volumes. Also made some investment in their end. What can be localized? I would say the aspect of some commodities are more in the more in one region. This needs to take in consideration. May in the future, more in the long term, maybe we can bring some commodities as well back and regionalized. But by nowadays, we need to consider that for our supply chain. Vertical integration, a great efficiency driver if you can leverage that. For example, for Flex, we have vertically integrated plastic and tooling, and this is a great opportunity to have the vertically integrated process in one hand. When I'm talking about one hand, there's another concept which is driving your efficiency and also your speed. And speed, as we know, is also a factor of cost. Is if you have the possibility to bring everything under one roof. And this concept we have as well within our Flex network. We have a footprint which is enabling you to have under one roof tooling, plastic, high-level automated assembly, and sterilization. I touch base the regional difference in product and competences. At the end, it's the risk-based approach I would take. Really think about what is the probability and what is the impact on your footprint decision, and based on that, you can make a make or buy decision. Either do it by your own and establish and enable new factories for manufacturing on your own, or use a service provider which is giving you a great footprint, a good expertise in engineering and core competence in the manufacturing area, and you can really focus on your solution of your product. Like Flex, as we have plus 100 locations by plus 30 in plus 30 countries, we have really a great expertise in really providing a good fit from the footprint for our customers and for our future customers. With that, I would like to thank you. If you need further more information, you can reach me out by mail or use the Health Solution mail address for questions. And I would also emphasize that you take the opportunity for our next Flex Talk, which is taking place on the 3rd of March for Designing for Device Success. Thank you very much, and I think we will open for Q&A.
Thanks so much, Christoph, for sharing those insights. That was great. Looks like we do have a few questions. So we'll start with the first one, which is, what are you seeing in the marketplace? And are people really thinking of changing their footprint in the current market?
It's a good question. You know, I was, as many of my colleagues, involved into COVID-related projects last year, and we could really see that our customers and our future customers are really was knocking on our door, asking if we can really support them by enabling a manufacturing out of one of our locations within the region, either in US or in Europe or in China, and transferring their existing product to enable them to drive furthermore volumes. With that, we see also a change in the thinking of, so there is also the request of making products in US for US and also for the European region, and as well think about the China for China approach of manufacturing. When I recall correctly, there was a colleague of mine, Kim Lee, was talking about that topic in one of our web talks, and I think you can reach out to that on our website, flex.com.
All right, the next question is, how do you look at labor costs and low-cost regions versus freight, logistics, and time? You know,
we see there is a shift in the labor costs. You know, the shift is different in how mature the markets, but we see it's there already. For, I would say, high cost region, we have a good advantage with bringing in automation, which is offsetting that. But also looking into the logistic and freights, if you have the opportunity to make in one region or in one site in one region your manufacturing and reduce the time you're spending for freights and for logistic, this is giving you or gaining your money back, which you can offset also with the labor costs.
All right, looks like we have one more question, and that is, Do you match your supply chain footprint, or should you match your supply chain footprint to your manufacturing footprint?
You know, it's. I would then rephrase my answer to the other question, because in principle, as I stated, the speed is a factor. Speed is a factor in terms of cost, and if you have the opportunity to have a supply chain localized, ideally yes. Think about my example of the localized suppliers. They need to have the right strengths to support you also with the volume growth. So this needs to take in consideration. On the other side, there will be remaining some commodities which you need to source globally or from one region. And so this is a kind of this hybrid supply chain I was pointing.
Well, it looks like there's no more questions. So thanks so much, Christoph, for your time. And thank you, everyone who has attended. You will get a recording of this, and we will also send you an invite for the next Flex Talks, which is going to be by Josef Schmetz from our Milan Design Center on March 3rd, Designing for Device Success. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.